Hey everybody, Raziel here, coming back at you with another Smite God build for the Xbox One, or any platform really for that matter. This week we're bringing to the table Poseidon, God of the Oceans. He's a Greek mage who has one of the most recognizable ults probably you're going to see in the game, or here in the game. And I'll go over that in a little bit when we get to his combos and everything else. He's very good at controlling the lane, controlling some team fights and everything else, but he does depend on some setup sometimes to really get that burst damage done. Now, this video is meant for people who have not used Poseidon before and want to learn, people who haven't used Poseidon in a while and need a refresher, or people just to kind of understand what the hell is going on when they're going up against Poseidon in a team fight. Now, if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit that thumbs up. I will be doing one of these a week as long as I can until we get to the end of the gods, and then we'll revisit some other ones because things change each patch. This is for patch 3.16, the one right before the Odyssey patch, which is coming out on PC, I think, this week. So. Before we get into it, though, I just got to go over the little piece of housekeeping I go over every video, and that has to do with his abilities, or his kit as I call it. Now, I use the Savage build on Xbox One, which will differ from yours on Xbox if you use this default, and your PS4 has shapes, and the PC and Mac has a different UI altogether. That being said, I will call out his kit as 1, 2, 3, and 4 from now on. His 1 being the ability all the way to the left, and 4 being his alt. This is to cut down on any confusion depending on what platform you prefer to play on. So we got that over. We're going to go over in this video his kit, or his abilities, his relics, his item build, and then his his combos and fight scenarios, etc., etc. So let's get into this right now. I'm going to start out with, if I could stop burping on the video, excuse me. His passive, which I went too far, his passive, which is called Changing Tides. It's a buff to himself, and Poseidon's movement speed is increased, and his abilities do additional damage as his tide level increases. His tide level is the little arc there down to the lower left right there with the prongs there. And that's his tide meter. And successful basic attacks increases his tide meter, and using abilities decrease the tide meter. So what that means pretty much, before I get into the actual numbers here, is as you do basic attacks on minions or gods, and maybe even objectives, that tide meter will increase. And once I go into the fight scenarios and stuff, you'll actually see the passive meter increase. The higher that meter is, the more damage and faster you move. Now, some people don't understand that, and I didn't at first either. What this means, if that's full, you're going to do max damage, and you're going to move the fastest you're going to move, period. So, let's look at the numbers here. Abilities will deal up to a 20 additional damage at max tide level. So, if that thing is max, you're doing 20%. It's halfway, it's an extra 10%, and anywhere in between, you got to do the interpolation and stuff. And that's math we just don't want to do in this video. Additionally, at max tide, he gets 10% speed increase. So that's an extra 10%. That's, I think, a little bit less than boots, I think. We'll go over that when we go to the item build. But that's pretty damn good, So obviously, half tide is going to move 5% faster. And then his basic attacks will do 10% tide each time you hit. So essentially, you have to hit 10 minion or god 10 times to get that full rank. There is a way to speed it up, and I'll get to that once I get through his kit here. So essentially, just before we move on, it is imperative you try to keep this tide meter full at all times. It'll keep you moving around the map a lot quicker, and it'll make sure when you actually do that damage, you burst it and you hit it hard. So let's move on to his 1. His 1 is Tidal Surge. Poseidon summons forth a wave that travels in a line, dealing damage and pushing back all enemies in his path. It's one of his wave clear abilities. Early game, it'll probably be the one that actually does most of the damage to the wave. Mid to late game, you might get away by just using his 3 to clear the waves. And when you're in a team fight scenario, it does pretty good damage, and it can also help you get away if you push them back and then turn and burn. It does 260 at max rank plus an additional 70% of your magical attack power or magical power after that. So I mean that's a pretty good amount of damage, not including what additional 20% you get if you have full tide meter. And using this ability decreases your tide meter by 30%. So I mean, by the time the cooldown runs off, you hopefully have that tide meter back up. But using this once takes it down 30%. So as you can see already, before we even get to the rest of the kit, you start doing combos. You could potentially burn down your your tide meter, or drain. We'll use a water metaphor. Drain your tide meter pretty quickly compared to if you just use one ability, etc. Okay, let's move on to his 2, which is Trident. Now this, I think, maybe is an underutilized ability. I underutilized it when I first started using Poseidon. Poseidon activates his Trident, granting movement speed and making his basic attacks fire 2 additional shots in a spread for 6 seconds. The shots deal magical damage plus 20% of Poseidon's magical power. That's pretty good. All shots increase Poseidon's tide on successful hits. Now, so what does that mean? All right, let's go into the basics here. You get 2 additional basic attacks essentially. So what happens is his regular basic attack is kind of just one line going out, one magical fire shot, whatever you want to call it. When you proc this or push this to make it go, he gets 2, 1 on each side. So it's 3. It's like a spread shot kind of thing. So when you hit with 3 each time you basic attack, that essentially 3 basic attacks get you almost a full tide meter. Now, is it called tide? Yes, tide meter. I almost said wave for some reason. It's tide meter. So this is a good way to get your tide meter up quickly. And again, I'll go over this at the end of the video when we go over his combos and everything. But not only that, if you already have full tide, you have your additional 20% magical damage from that. Plus you have another 20% magical power with this ability. And this ability is also good to use when you need to get the hell out of dodge, because you got your 10% at full tide, movement speed. I am just all flabbergasted here, tongue-tied. And plus another, 20%, not 20%, movement speed scales. Okay, so 25% at max rank. So his base damage is 70, plus 20% on top of that, plus whatever your tide meter is. And then your movement speed is 25%, plus the 10% if you have full tide. So that's 35%, plus the boots you got. So you proc this, and you can run. This is probably going to help you escape more times than not. Potentially. It won't be an escape every time. This buff lasts 6 seconds at all ranks. His 3 is called Whirlpool, and it pretty much summons a whirlpool at the ground. Anyone caught in the whirlpool cripples them, which essentially makes them unable to leap, dash, or anything like that. They have to walk out of the whirlpool, which is annoying if you get caught in it. Trust me. Preventing movement abilities. Okay, that's what I just said. But not only do you have to walk out of the whirlpool, it pulls you towards the center. All right, so you're fighting against the whirlpool, trying to get out. It's just adding more tick damage and making you pretty much slower. Now this happens for 0.5 seconds for every 3 seconds. So six magical ticks, dealing magical damage, and reduces the tide meter by 25%. So this and the 1 reduce the tide meter by over half, 55%. So there you go. All right, and we'll see how much the tide meter is decreased with his ultimate. This is mostly the setup ability for you to do combos on enemy gods, or like I said, mid to late game. You could probably throw this down in a minion wave and before they get to yours, and they have to walk through it, and you can probably kill them pretty easy if they don't die within the whirlpool before it despawns. So the damage is 55 at max rank, plus an additional 15% of your magical power per tick. And again, this increases the higher your tide meter is. Now we're going to go on the ultimate. Now this is what I was talking about, the most recognizable ultimate in the game. At least, I mean, there are a few, but you know this one. You hear this one, you start to see this one happening underneath your feet, and you start to just straight up crap your pants. You're like, crap, I gotta hit my sanctuary. I gotta do whatever the hell I can to get out of this. More times than not, you're not gonna be able to do it. You can maybe get the sanctuary off. Maybe Kepri puts a revive on you if you're lucky. But you get hit with this, and you could be pretty much dead. And if you do survive, he then follows up with any kind of combo, you're gone. Burst damage to the extreme. So be wary of when the enemy Poseidon's Kraken is up. So anyway, it's called Release the Kraken, and he literally releases the Kraken from the ground. It slows the enemy targets in the radius, and in the center of the radius, targets will take additional damage, and they're bounced in the air and stunned. It's annoying. So at max rank, it's 270 magical damage, plus 30% magical power. But if they're at the center, it does 300 magical damage, or 340 at max rank, sorry, plus an additional 60% of your magical power at the center. So obviously, the closer to the center you can get them, the more damage you're going to do. Alright? And that adds a slow of 30% to the enemy, and a stun of 2 seconds at max rank if you get them in with the center hit. And this reduces your tide meter by 50%. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'll go over that once we go into the combos, about what you want to start with, what you want to hit up with, etc., etc. So, the cooldown's 90 seconds at all rank, and this is just, I mean, it's ridiculous. You see it, you hear it, you're like, oh crap, I'm dead. Oh crap, if I get out of this, I don't even know how. I'm going to record this clip and juke the hell out of anyone I can. But those are his abilities. A lot of burst and a lot of utility in between himself. He can slow, he can cripple, he can knock him up in the air. He can also increase his speed and magical damage with his passive alone. So we're going to go next into the relics. Now, the relics are situational. Now, these relics and the item build that I'm going to go over after are primarily for conquest. They can be used in Clash, Arena, Joust, etc. Assault usually will change up because you don't have the ability to go back to your fountain. Now, what does that mean? Use these relics, use these item builds as you see fit. Change them up if you want. Because one of the phrases I use a lot in these videos is it's always situational. The relics will depend on what your team comp has, what your team chooses. Additionally, what the enemy team comp is. Do they have an Ares? Well, if they have an Ares, that usually means you're going to pick up Purification. Or if they have a Fenrir, Purification. Do they have an Odin? Okay, one of you people are going to have to just choose a Phantom. Maybe a couple depending on where you're located on the map, etc. It's situational. You're going to pick things up depending on what you want, etc., etc. So let's get right into it. We're going to go right down here to the relics. Like I said, more times than not, you're going to need Purification. Because they're going to have somebody who has enough CC that if you get stuck, you're going to get killed. Ares, right? You need Purification. Fenrir, you need Purification. They have an Anubis, a Scylla. You're potentially going to need a Purification because they can stun you and set it up for them to just ult the crap out of you. Not even an ult, they could just hit you up with one of their abilities once you're stunned and just be done. And if it's a combo, yeah. Purification more times than not, especially if you're playing in the mid lane, because the potential for you to be ganked is incredible. If you don't need Purification, maybe you go Sanctuary. Because there will be an instance definitely where a Sanctuary could probably come in handy. We're going to go Purification though. Additionally, you're getting pooped on. Sanctuary is probably the way to go. Or you can go for your second item. I was going to move here. Sprint. If they have gods where you just need to outrun, like a Nemesis, a Zonqui, or something like that, Sprint will help. You can go, Sanctuary, they got a Nuwa, they got a Neath. Sanctuary will help. Vulcan, Thanatos will help out. Yeah, and you could potentially also go Med, because that will help. And you can go Med early game as well, too, as your first relic, if you feel you're going to need the extra mana and extra health that you could potentially get from this, if potions are not going to do it on their own. Excuse me a second. My throat's starting to get a little scratchy. I apologize. So, I'm going to say, by mid to late game is when you're going to pick this up. Obviously mid game, because 12 is not 20. You're going to want to get Sanctuary, probably. You're starting to get in the team fights, and you're probably going to be focused, because you're going to be doing a lot of damage if you aren't already getting to top damage on your team. So Sanctuary is probably a good choice. Again, situational. You could be really ahead, and that Med will just help keep you in lane. Or you could be really behind, and that Sanctuary is really not going to do too much, but sprints will help. Or, you need that Phantom, because no one else on your team picked it up. And that Phantom, would allow you to get through Odin's Wall, essentially. So, now I'm going to go into his item build again. This is situational, and this is for Conquest, mainly. Just try it out, use it, modify it as you feel, but at least the core items probably will be sticking with you no matter what game mode you play. Starter item. Now, you don't need a starter item in every game mode. You can skip it in Clash and Joust, potentially, and Assault. Usually, starter items aren't picked up that often. But in Conquest, the starter item will be Vampiric Shroud. It gives you 20 magical power off the bat, gives you extra health, and it gives you MP5. Because you're going to be in the mid lane, most likely. You're not going to get the mana buff, so you're going to get the damage buff, but not the mana buff. So killing enemies, restore 10 health and 10 mana. This includes minions. So you kill a minion, you get 10 health and mana back as well. And you should be killing a fair amount of minions throughout the laning phase and mid game to late game. So, and then you're going to start out probably after that. Let's see. You could probably go with boots. We're going to go right into boots, I think, after that. You're going to want Shoes of the Magi, because you want that magical power, because you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Magical power, magical penetration, even to get through the tankier ones. And then movement speed. So 18% is the movement speed. Probably across the board, I think, right? Yep, 18% is the movement speed. Plus, you get your 10% on max tide. Plus, if you proc your 2, you get what, that extra 20%? Or I don't remember what percentage you said, but you get that extra movement speed from that as well. Oh yeah, it depends on the rank. 25% of max rank. So we're going to go with these boots, because it gives you the magical power, it gives you a little bit extra penetration, and also gives you that movement speed you're going to need, because he doesn't have a leap or anything like that to get away from the ganks. So you're going to want to go with that. Next, we're going to go into our stacking item, which is going to be Book of Thoth, or Thoth. Maybe that H is silent. I don't know. Django. So, it gives you mana, gives you more MP5, and it gives you 100 magical power off the bat. Plus, when you stack, again, 10 mana per stack, and that's up to 75 stacks. So you get 750 more mana. That's pretty decent. And then additionally, on top of that, 3% of your mana is converted to magical power. So you're getting more magical power, more mana, in addition to the magical power and mana you get right off the base. So this is good. And, it's your second actual item, not including your starter item. You'll get this probably before 10 or maybe around 10, depending how things are going for you. Probably before 10. And so it's still laning phase as maybe a little bit later to the laning phase, but you'll be able to clear those waves sooner and start those stacks stacking up. Okay, that's a lot of the word stack there. So the next item. Now, some people switch this with the item after it, but I always go this item next. Sometimes I might even go this before Book of Thoth. And where is it? It's It's right here. Gem of Isolation. I think I might have thrown this on some of the other mages I've done, and maybe even Guardians, because this is a great and annoying item to go on any magical damaging god. You get 70 magical power. You get more 250 health and mana, but it's all about the passive. You know, it could be crap for magical power, but the passive really helps out, especially Poseidon, because the passive reduces their movement speed by 25% for 6 seconds. This will help you with your setup greatly. It'll help you with your team setup as well. Alright, we just had a spike in the video there. I don't know what's going on. Okay, we're going to push through. Hopefully it doesn't spike again there. Anyway, like I said, this will greatly increase the ability for you and your teammates to secure a kill. So we're going to apply that. Gem Isolation. It's great. Just, you know, get them in your whirlpool. The next item would be Obsidian Shard. You know, 70 magical power. Again, it's the passive. You get 33% magical pen with that. So it's going to be, especially against those tanky targets, you know, you're going to be doing more damage than they're expecting. Next item after this is Rada Tahuti. Now, you could potentially go Bancroft's and then Rod. I think at this point I might go Bancroft's Talon, because it gives you that 100 magical power, but it gives you magical lifesteal. And it gives you more magical power, the more health you're missing. So, let's just take a quick peek here. Magical power is at over or about half of your max. That's not too bad. Plus, we haven't even really stacked anything yet, so that would increase as it goes. Why is this? All right, my PC is acting up, but we're gonna power through this. We're gonna get through this video. Bear with me. I'm sorry. After that, we'll go. It's not here. You could potentially go, you know, Spear of Desolation. I mean, this is up for grabs. If you're getting pooped on, you go with a defensive item, like you could go with Mental Discord. This is always great, especially when you're trying to escape, because it gets to a certain percent of your life and it stuns people around you within 20 units. But I think if you want just pure damage, and it's not shown here, but you're gonna go. Oh, I gotta sell this starter item here. If you haven't sold it already. Rada Tahuti, because it gives you 125 magical power plus more MP5. You could always use more MP5, and it increases your magical power by 25%. So with that, we're at 691. We're pretty damn close to cap, so he's going to hit pretty hard. Oops, I'm hitting the wrong damn buttons. Alright, so this build right here, obviously boots is first if you don't buy a starter item. You're going to go boots first, and Rada Tahuti would be put all the way over to the right there. But this item build will get you through games. Could be top damage, you could be top kills, who knows? It all depends if you're able to get the setup from your teammates and you're able to land the setup for yourself. Is what we're going to go into next, is combos, etc., etc. So let's back out of that. So as you can see right here, we're going to go into our trusty little Odin here. Now look at my tide meter. My tide meter down there is empty. So let's start hitting him with basic attacks here. Tide meter is now going up. And it's actually water. So, there I can see him a little better. So yeah. And as you can see, it's a wave of water or a film of water or something that he flings forward. A slice of water. Yeah, we'll say it's a slice of water. A slice of water goes forward. We're hitting from 198. That's not too bad. Alright, so we're going to burn down my abilities, essentially. I'm going to show you the one here. Here, you know, it's got a pretty good distance on it. I'm standing by this Odin, and it says I can hit that Odin. So let's just do it from here. Hey, Odin, I'm going to hit this Odin. Whoop, boom, and it knocks him off. I hit him for 860. That's not too bad. But you can see my tide meter went down by a good chunk. And I think, what was it, 25%? 20%. No, that's the wrong one. 30%. All right, that does not look like 30% down there, so maybe the tooltip is incorrect. But now, the Whirlpool is a pretty good radius, as you can see. We're going to put it back on this right Odin. We always pick on the right Odin. And there, it's hitting him right there. So I'm going to do the whirlpool again after the cooldown's done. And it didn't last that long, but I'm going to see if I can pull him towards the center. So you can see that it does that. Plus, I'm going to try to get rid of the rest of my tide meter here. So let's see if I can pull him towards the center. Yeah, it's pulling him towards the center. And I'll just hit him with that just to get my wave done. Okay. My tide meter done. Now he's not centered, you son of a bitch. Alright, so let's get rid of that again. Alright, so we're now going to use his 2, and you're going to see how much quicker my tide meter increases. Well, we'll hit this guy still. So there's proc, my trident's glowing. 1, 2, 3, 4 essentially. So more than half of that is reduced. 4 hits as opposed to 10 hits to get that tide meter going. And as you can see, I'm a little bit faster now. You know? I was moving around a little bit faster than I was without that full tide meter. Now, I'm going to just go over the combos now and maybe show them here in a second, and then I'll show you the combo with the ultimate as well. So, you're laning. It's mid to late game. You know, you could be 1v1ing in mid. You could be, you know, doing a small team fight. You're going to want to drop down your whirlpool, your 3. Then potentially proc your 2, depending on how things are going, to get that tide meter back up as quick as possible. And then hit them with your 1 for that extra damage. Or save your 1 if you want, if they're aggressing on you, and use it to peel and, you know, turn and burn, as I said earlier in the video. Now, with that said, I believe his trident is glowing because his tide meter is full or max. With that said, it'll be different, a little bit different once we get the ultimate in there. So I'm just going to go through this real quick. Boom, boom, 1, 2, 3, get that tide meter back up, boom, hit him again, and look at that. My tide meter really didn't move that much at all. I got really close to the camera there, sorry. That much at all during that engagement. You know, and that would chunk them down pretty good. If they don't have full health, you could potentially get a kill with that. Because this Odin, you know, just stood there and got sucked to the center. But they're going to try to get out, you know, get out of the whirlpool as best they can. And with that Gemma isolation, they're going to be even slower, which is going to hopefully get them more ticks. Because they're crippled, they can't leap, jump, etc. Any kind of ability to get the hell out of there. Now, with his ultimate, if you have the setup, okay, if you have the setup with an Ares and they don't have any purification, or with an Odin and they're all trapped in the ring and they don't have Phantom, or any kind of situation where they're grouped up, you're going to want to pop that ultimate because it's going to do a lot of damage across the board. If you're 1v1ing, you know, and you want to secure that kill, you could pop that ultimate, you know. So what you'll do, if you're set up, you're going to pop the ultimate first, throw down the whirlpool, get your wave back up, and hit him and try to finish him off with your 1. Or if you just want to do quick burn and you know you're going to get the kill, ultimate whirlpool 1, and then hit him back up with your 2 for the chase. Get that? 4-3-1-2 is the potential set up combination. Now, you don't have an Ares or an Odin and everything else where it's going to get people grouped into one small area, then you're going to want to use this combo. You're going to want to throw down your whirlpool. You're going to want to throw in your 3. The closer to the center you can get them, the better. Slow them down. Pop your ultimate. Or you could hit them up with a 2 to get your wave meter back up to do max damage with your ultimate. But you got to be quick. But pop your ultimate, knock them up in the air. If you can get them in the center, knock them up into the air. Proc your 2 again. It's all situational. If you can proc your 2 and get your tide meter back up there, you do it. I keep saying wave meter, I think, throughout this video. I'm sorry. And then hit them with the 1 for the finish. Or you can go ultimate, whirlpool ultimate, 1, 2 for the chase. That's a lot of different fighting scenarios there. And I'm going to go over it right now with the 1v1 because, well, not the 1v1, but without this team setup. You don't have an Ares or anything like that. So, what I'm going to do here, I have full tide meter. I'm going to throw down my, I'm just going to go for the quick burst. Whirlpool, ultimate, 1, 2. Alright? 3, 4, 1, 2 is the combo. Ready? 3, 4, 1, 2, hit. Still in your whirlpool when they come back down. That should take them out. Should take them out. we'll see. And as well, 75% cooldown. But as you can see, I am still, when I try to burn this my wave meter down, I still got a tide meter. I've still got a lot of tide still after that engagement, so I am able to do the chase or do some follow-up damage. Okay, so here you can see how slow Poseidon is without his tide meter full, and then boom, bada boom, bada boom, and then he's much faster. So trying to keep that tide meter up as much as you can is great, you know. And we'll just even do a little scenario here. I'm going, and now I'm that much faster with his 2 procced. It's a good burst damage god. I use him now and then, you know, depending on my team comp. Like I said, he's great when you have an Ares. He's great when you have an Odin or any type of god that can give you that setup. A Fenrir even could bring him into your ult. You know, just sit there, you ult, etc., etc. I hope this video helped. It might have gone a little bit longer, but he does have a few fighting scenarios, more than some gods do. And hit me up with this, you know, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up. Any comments that you have on or questions on the god, feel free to leave them below. Or if you want a specific god for me to go over, put it down in the comments below as well, and I will try to move that up the list and get that into the next mage or assassin or whatever class build it is. You can check my channels down below. Obviously my YouTube and my Twitter there. I post what I'm feeling like, what I'm gonna do when I'm you know, releasing videos, etc., etc. And with that, I would like to say thank you for all the people who have been watching my videos, hitting those thumbs up. The support has been great, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.